welcome to my video, the top 5 things I've learned in my first year as a financial controller. I joined the company in January 2020 whilst we were in lockdown, so it was a really unusual start to a new job, but everything has worked out really well. I wanted to share this with you so that I could reflect on the last year and also so that I could share my tips and advice. Now, these mainly focus on soft skills rather than technical skills, as I found that these have really helped me with my development, and I think that these skills are just as important. So firstly, brainstorming. This may seem simple, but I would really recommend brainstorming and writing down all of your ideas. If you're anything like me, if you're tasked with thinking of new ideas to improve processes and efficiencies, you'll get really excited and your brain will think of so many new ideas. Write all of these down in a notebook, on a whiteboard, on your computer, on your phone. It doesn't matter where, just get it all noted down. It means that when you're ready to approach a certain process, you've got a whole bank of ideas ready, so you're already one step ahead. I found that some of my best ideas or solutions to problems have come at really random times outside of work, so again, just always having pen and paper or your phone to hand is really handy. I've also found it really helpful to brainstorm all my long, medium and short-term goals on a whiteboard by my desk, and this was inspired by Mia, someone else I know who's a financial controller, so thank you for that. We both colour code all our ideas into long, medium and short-term goals, and then within my day-to-day work I'm able to set out how I want to achieve these. Some of these take time, but I found it really helpful and motivational to have a visual approach and having all of your ideas written down. And it's really satisfying when you can wipe it off your whiteboard, and it's nice to see yourself achieving one of the goals you've set for yourself. So tip number 2 is all about change management and how to approach it within the business you work in. Change needs to be managed very carefully, and this is something I've learned so much about in the last year. Now, some of the smaller changes I've made to improve efficiency haven't required as much managing, as they've been relatively simple. These could be things like how data is captured and shared, and where they make your colleagues' job easier, they're likely to be well received, but it's really important before implementing any changes to get buy-in from affected staff members and to ensure that it's rolled out well and implemented well. So this includes making sure that those affected know exactly what the process change is and how it affects what they may need to do differently. Check in on these colleagues a week, 2 weeks and beyond after the changes come in to firstly find out if there are any issues that need resolving, and also to obtain some feedback on how the change was managed, how the process was implemented, so that you can use this feedback in future. Secondly, not everything you do has to be massive. Sometimes the smallest changes are the most effective. So one of the first things that we changed within the finance team was how bank transactions were shared with colleagues who post them onto our accounting software. And this was a really small change. It didn't require much implementing at all because it was quite straightforward, but it's been really effective and has made a huge difference to how much time is spent each week on the bank reconciliation. So number 3 is all about learning about the business. Now, this may seem, again, quite straightforward, but it's something that I wanted to talk about. It will take time, and the longer you're at the business, the more you'll learn. However, in your first few months, I would recommend learning as much as you can, not only about the business, but about your colleagues, your customers, and your business processes. One of the best ways to do this is to go and visit all the different sites, the different teams, and all your colleagues, and spend time with them, discuss their roles, discuss current processes to really understand how the business works and what, in their opinion, what might be some current stumbling blocks or problems. Getting to know everyone across the business is not only great as you'll really feel part of the team, but it's also really useful when you want to then get opinions on current processes, proposed changes, etc. As I've previously mentioned, getting buy-in is very important, and the more you get to know your colleagues, the more likely they are to trust you, and although this will take time, it means that you're more likely to get buy-in for your ideas. Now, the best way I've found to work out where there are inefficiencies that need addressing is to map out your processes and people's roles, again on a mind map on a whiteboard, and then you can work out where there are tasks which are perhaps taking too long or where perhaps there are tasks which are being duplicated. This is not only helpful to learn about the business, but it feeds nicely into change management, as learning about different processes will help you work out which changes are urgent and need prioritising, and perhaps some which don't need updating at all. So point number 4 is all about collaboration. And something I hadn't appreciated before I started my current role is how useful collaboration with your perceived competitors can be. So back in the spring, I attended a Zoom finance forum with financial controllers of similar businesses, and it was great. We all bounced ideas off each other, provided new perspectives, and collaborated on new ideas. At the end of the day, because we are in the same industry, we are facing some of the same challenges, so it was really useful to discuss these and help each other to resolve them. So at this meeting, I met Mia, a financial controller who works at a dealership at the other end of the country. We now message very frequently and have monthly Teams calls to discuss what's going well, what's not going so well, and also to get each other's opinions on any issues we may be having. We both use the same accounting software, so it's been great where I don't know how to do something, Mia's been able to help me and vice versa. So it's been one of the best connections that I've made. We share ideas, we help each other, and that ultimately helps both businesses. And I'd really recommend teaming up with someone in a similar position to you in the same industry. It's been invaluable, and I'm very grateful for our monthly calls. Your colleagues will also be able to provide you with their perspective on the business and its processes. Collaboration with teams on projects and process changes is a great way to ensure that these process changes are successful. You don't have to do it by yourself. Teams will be able to provide different points of view and new ideas for you to work with. Additionally, finding out from teams what their current issues and problems are from a finance perspective will help you to generate ideas on how you can help them. For example, I've found that teams sometimes have an idea of what sort of financial information they want, but they don't always know how to get it. And this is where you can come in, finding efficient ways to provide managers with the financial information that they need to manage their team and monitor overall performance. You want to be working with each of your teams to help them and find solutions to their problems. My last point is all about experience. Ultimately, the more you're in a financial controller role, the more experience and confidence you will have. You'll learn what works well in the business and what doesn't, and you'll need to adjust your approach to things depending on the people, the teams, the customers, and all the different people that you're working with. This isn't something that you can learn, you just need experience in the right role. What works in one business may not work in others, so you need to spend time in the business learning as much as you can, which ultimately will really help you in your role. Now, I'd still say that if you're not currently in a financial controller role, there are still some ways that you can gain some insight into what we do. If you're in a finance team but you want to gain some higher level experience, approach your financial controller, ask them if you can shadow them, ask if you can help to take on some of their tasks. A financial controller has so many different roles, so if someone's offering help, they're more than likely to say yes. They have a lot of monthly tasks, so I'm sure that they will appreciate any help. If you're currently working in accountancy practice, whether or not you want to be a financial controller, I'd recommend getting involved with any systems and controls reviews that you might do for your clients. Either way, you're likely to learn something which will help you develop your career. If you don't currently work in audit, but you do want exposure to larger businesses, I would really recommend trying to get involved in audit work. Now, it may not be for everyone, but I really enjoyed it, and ultimately I wouldn't be where I am now if I hadn't previously been an auditor. I feel so much more confident now a year on. I've learned so much. Of course, not everything went 100% to plan all year, and it's okay if things aren't always perfect. But overall, it's been a great year, and I'm excited to see what happens in 2022. That concludes my video on the top 5 things I've learned in my first year as a financial controller. Thank you for watching, and if anyone has any questions or would like any advice, please feel free to drop me a message on LinkedIn.